Brittany, for all right. Recording is in progress. Got it.
Sorry, there we go. We're
No, it's good. No, it's good. All right, so we're making this. This is going to live on forever. Awesome. And again, I said this sort of leading in. My son might be screaming in the background. So just a heads up. But yeah, I'm going to share my screen here. So my name's Mike. I've worked for Noon for about 10 years now, mostly on, I don't know why this popped up. Sorry, I'm waiting for something to go away so then I can see my screen again. But anyway, so I've been working for Noon. I'm going to try this again because it's not cooperating with me. All right, let's do that one more time. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, so I worked for Noon for about 10 years. I lead our experiential marketing team and partnerships. That's why I get to work with the wonderful folks at Sports Backers, and we get to work on all of the amazing events that they put on. So super excited about that. Thanks again, Brittany, for having me. So I'm going to do I'm going to try and roll fast since I know we got a stacked lineup of awesome speakers. So I'll keep it short. And if Brittany said, if there's questions, you can either interrupt me, totally fine, or you can throw them in chat. That works too. But yeah, so Hydration 101, I can't get to presenter mode. I'm sorry, it's like covered up by my my toolbar and I can't get it to go away. So you get it like this. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about who the heck is Noon, the company I work for, and believe in deeply. We're going to talk a little bit about hydration science, do some hydration for training, real specific conversation, and then we can wrap up with a Q&A, however that sort of wraps into the sort of flow of the training overall. So yeah, so Noon, who are we? So we are all about hydration. So we make hydration products that are hardworking, that help you live your best life. And so, we make products across a number of different functional need states. But the ones that we're mostly going to talk about today, and really not talk specifically about products, but the ones that are applicable for you all are our sport product, which comes as a tablet. It's high in electrolytes, low in sugar, and then our endurance product, which is what is served on course at the marathon, which you've been getting throughout your training as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about those, but we actually make 12 different products across a bunch of different need states, and the goal is to bring some function, flavor, and fun to every glass of water you drink throughout your day. So a little bit about us and what we stand for. We're all about empowering more movement. And so that's truly what gets us up every day, and what gets us going. We want to make movement inclusive for all, and we want to make movement fun as well. And so that's a big part of who we are. And sort of our three sort of brand values are all about clean product. So Noon, fun fact, sort of a nonsense word. You might have picked that up, but really where it comes from is nutrition uncompromised. So if you take the first two letters of those two words, you get Noon. And so we're all about creating super clean products that work really, really well with your body. And we source them with a planet first mindset, which is our second value there. So we're all about creating products and form factors that are better for you and better for the environment. And, we continue to, make strides in this space. We're climate neutral, one of a small number of consumer packaged goods products that fall in that category, and we're really proud of it. And we're continuing to innovate in the packaging and clean and sustainability space. And then third one, so clean movement. We want everybody to move, and we look at ourselves as a big tent brand, in that we want every single body to get out there and move, because we believe in the power of movement and what it can do to change your life. And so that's kind of a little bit about who we are. So not to talk about our brand, because I think you all want to know about hydration too, which is really important. So what's the big deal with water? So I'm going to lead in with a little bit of hydration science, try not to keep it try not to be too boring, keep it a little fun and light. But I think you all know this, you're all here. So you made one huge step. You're trying to learn what you need in order to have your best day on race day. And so, as an endurance athlete, as you all are, your body is constantly losing liquid, whether you're running or not. One key thing I've always taken away is if you're breathing, you're dehydrating. So every time you breathe out, you're losing moisture, you're losing liquid. And so hydration is absolutely critical, and it absolutely can make or break your race day. And really just your training and your on-the-go lifestyle can make or break all of those. And so a couple like big headlines here. So like, and you all know this, you're in Richmond, it's super hot and humid. It only takes 30 minutes to get dehydrated on a long run. So it can only take 30 minutes. It's not very long. If you're training for a marathon, unless you're like super duper fast, you are running way longer than 30 minutes. And so hydration is incredibly key. And it's not noted here, but even a 2% decrease in total body hydration can equate to a 20% decrease in performance. And so I don't know about you all, but I would rather get my runs over faster than slower. So I try to hydrate as best I can when I'm out there. And this is key too. 75% of American adults are chronically dehydrated. And so, that's daily hydration, not taking in enough throughout the day. And why that's super important is your body's mostly water, your brain, your muscles, and your lungs, all super, super water dense. And so really to perform your best and to have, both perform your best and have your most positive race day experience, those water in general is super important. And so kind of with hydration in mind, 5 key things. So hydration's energy for your muscles. So it helps deliver oxygen to your working muscles, really simply. And so, being properly hydrated gets your blood plasma up, so that you can effectively distribute oxygen to your working muscles. So it gives them the energy they need to perform. Second big thing here, water alone does not hydrate you. So water needs to be super specific concentration of electrolytes, a little bit of carbohydrates. And what it does is it actually prevents the sloshing in your stomach. So if you ever drank a bunch of water and had that feeling like it just won't empty out of your stomach and you're really bloated, it's because in order for water to effectively pass from your gut into your bloodstream and ultimately your working muscles, you actually need to consume electrolytes and a little bit of carbohydrates as well. So water alone does not effectively hydrate you. And that kind of leads into this third point, is that proper hydration will help mitigate gastric distress during exercise. I think we've all hopefully not maybe, but I'm sure we've all been there at some point. And so when you're exercising, your body is absolutely under stress. Your stomach for sure is under distress. And I bet Celia will talk a little bit about that when we get down into the fueling side of this. But when it comes to hydration in general, if your delivery of fluid to your muscles slows down, then it actually affects how quickly you can process any fuel you may be consuming. And so, it leads to point 4, hydration will help you fuel better. Hydration is sort of like the foundation to allow you to effectively fuel and give yourself energy throughout your race, throughout your training. And then the last piece here, hydration absolutely aids in recovery. And so, it's you have to be really mindful in how you do it, in how you hydrate post run, post race, post workout. But hydration is critically important so that your body can begin to rebuild the muscles that you've broken down during your workout. So those are kind of like, my 5 key things. I usually just like to throw this chart out here. It's just like, what does dehydration look like? I know it sounds kind of simple, but dehydration can have a incredibly negative impact on your overall experience, working out, running, racing, whatever you might be doing. And so I'm not going to talk about each of these, but there's a pretty clear delineation between advanced dehydration and just call it regular old daily dehydration. Best to avoid any of these, but the key ones, particularly thinking about your harder, longer workouts, if you have any sort of if you stop sweating entirely on a really warm day, that's like a really big red flag. You may be extremely dehydrated. If you're starting to feel really dizzy, you're getting confused out there, those are things you want to be really, really mindful of. So everything we're talking about today is to avoid these things, but I do think it's important to understand what it feels like and what it looks like. So in terms of, I'm just going to jump into some more specific, sorry. Well, There we go. More specific training tips. And so I like to distill it down so it's really simple, just like quick and easy things you can take with you. And so this first one, wake up with water. So, you know, your body is dehydrating while you're sleeping. I talked about it at the beginning here. If you're breathing, which I'm pretty sure everybody who sleeps breathes, I read that somewhere. So if you're sleeping, you're breathing, and you're dehydrating, and you're not drinking while you're sleeping for however long you sleep at night, hopefully 8 hours, but you know. And so, you know, drinking about 8 ounces of water 30 minutes after you wake up is actually critically important to just giving your body the hydration you need when you wake up. And this is particularly important for people that are highly active. And I assume anybody running a marathon is training quite a bit. And so you fall in that category. So this next one, drink up before you lace up. So in the, call it 90 minutes before your run, a really, really easy way to prevent dehydration from setting in on your run itself is to pre-hydrate. So we always recommend 16 ounces of liquid, preferably with some electrolytes in it. Our product Noon Sport, which I talked about a little bit at the lead-in, is a great option for this. So do that in the 90 minutes before your run to make sure that you're going in hydrated. So that get home and rehydrate tip, that's really all about, as soon as you get home from your run, you should start rehydrating right then. And when I'm not saying just like, you know, grab some water and chug it, but 16 ounces of liquid in that first like 30 minutes where you finish your run, again, ideally with some electrolytes in it, is really, really critical. And then this last one, a little bit less intuitive. So wind down with more water. Really highly recommended that before you go to bed, so call it like the 15 minutes before you lay down, to have 6 to 8 ounces. So it's not a super high recommendation, but having like, you know, a half a glass of water right before bed, just to give you some hydration right before you go to sleep, and, you know, like I said, start to dehydrate. So all this is fine and good, these training tips. But I think the most important thing here is how, and maybe a question a lot of you have, is how do you know when to drink or when not to drink during training runs? And so this chart kind of outlines how you should approach all of your training runs or your workouts. And so the one thing to call out here is extreme temperatures, and mostly in the extreme high temperatures definitely require more hydration. And I think we all know that the amount that you sweat is particularly when it's hot and humid, goes up exponentially. But, you know, when thinking about just like general guidelines for when you should drink, what you should drink, you know, anything under 30 minutes, fluid consumption is optional. And so, you know, your own personal preference, and your like how you operate in your daily training, it's completely up to you. So, you know, we talked about those tips where you pre-hydrate into a training run and then you hydrate afterwards. That's sufficient in a workout less than 30 minutes. And so completely up to you. In that, like, call it like 30 minutes all the way up to 90-minute range, you know, we're talking drinking about 16 ounces of fluid with electrolytes per hour. And so that's, you know, not a great deal. I know Jeff's gonna talk to you about some options a little bit later on, but so that 16 ounces per hour is sort of a general guideline, and it can vary a little bit. So, you know, again, everybody's individual, your height, weight, gender, all those things play a factor in how much you should hydrate. But this is sort of like a good baseline. If you're not drinking this much, you're probably not drinking enough. And then, you know, for 90 plus minutes, so this is where you really get into the sort of race day applications. Drink 4 to 8 ounces every 20 minutes. And again, that sounds like a pretty big range. And again, it just comes back to it being really, really highly individual. And so I guess with all that said, to kind of jump into race day a little bit. So, you know, for everybody here, I think, you know, more than 90 minutes is what it takes to run a marathon. And so, you know, for the marathon in particular, we, so for that 90 plus minutes, we have a product called Noon Endurance. It's served on course at all the aid stations. So, you know, you've been getting quite a bit of it in your training up until now. But the key differentiation between our endurance product and our sport product is the inclusion of additional carbohydrates. And so a lot of that comes from your body goes through some key changes when you've been exercising and moving for a longer period of time. And a higher amount of carbohydrates is actually really important in order to help your stomach, help move liquid from your stomach to your working muscles. And so, even our endurance product, even though it does have a little bit of carbohydrates, has a little bit higher calorie content than our tablet-based sport product. It's still really viewed as just a hydration product. And so you'll definitely want to look at products from GU as ways to get your fuel on your run and during your race. And then I kind of spoke to it, but I'll just kind of leave you with this. So I talked about our sport product, because it comes as a tablet. It's really, really easy and effective to use, sort of in that in your 60 minutes or less run or training run, and for pre and post workout. Whereas our endurance product is really meant for during those really, really long runs or really hard efforts. And so that's kind of all I got. That's it. I know I just kind of rambled. Are there any questions come up in chat that I missed?
There was one that popped up. Let's see. What's the best way to determine the hydration breaking point, making sure that you get enough fluid, but not so much that you have to go to the bathroom a lot during your race or your training?
It's a great question. And again, it's pretty individualized. What I always say is test it out in training to get an understanding of how much is too much for you. And so, that particularly for race day, that the 4 to 8 ounces is a good place to start and sort of play with to understand, how your body can, accept and intake that amount of fluid. And so I would say that. And then I just saw a question come up on flavor. So it is lemon lime in our endurance product. That's the flavor that'll be on course. We just do one flavor to make it, I guess, simplest when you're on course, so that you're not trying to navigate different flavors. You've got enough going on, just thinking about your own race and managing all that. That's just another thing you don't want to have to deal with. So yeah, so that's what I got. If there are any questions, we can do that, or we can leave them until the end. It's up to you, Brittany. The one thing I will do is I'm going to drop a link in the chat here. And so there's actually, we have a document. It's just it's a how to hydrate during training document that actually goes a little bit deeper dive on different instances in your training and how you should approach that day from a hydration standpoint. So easy day, hard day, long run, recovery day. And so if you click through that link, you can download that guide, and it's actually super, super helpful. So I'll leave you with that.
That's perfect. I was hoping that you would share that link with everybody, so that's great. I had one thing that I was hoping you might be able to touch on. So right now it's 95 degrees and 120% humidity out, so very hot. But it's kind of hard to think that on race day it's going to be 30 degrees outside potentially. So those kind of quantities, like that 4 to 8 ounces every 20 minutes, is that still recommended when it is those cooler temperatures, when people maybe don't feel the need to hydrate as frequently?
Yeah, for sure. So that 4 to 8 ounces, again, it feels like a pretty big range, because you take that out to an hour, that's 24 ounces or 12 ounces. So pretty big difference. But that's really meant as more of a baseline. So if it's 95 degrees, that number should actually climb up a little bit, just because it is so hot and so humid. And humidity's, it's key in this, and that it really does pull liquid out really, really quickly. And so yeah, so I would say it would go upward from that. So that's probably, or not probably, that's a really good race day, particularly for the weather in Richmond in November. So yeah, because I've been there so many times, I know that. So.
Great. Did anybody else have any other questions for Mike before we jump over to Celia and our fuel portion? If so, we can always jump back. You can pop it into the chat as well. But Celia, I will kick it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Nice to meet all of you. Mike, great job. We're really excited to be on course alongside with Noon. So just a little background about GOO. So we started in 1993. And the reason that our brand started is because our founder, his daughter was an ultra marathoner. And back in the late 80s, there really wasn't too much nutrition out there to fuel with. There were bars, which had fiber in them, bananas, Coke, candy, all things that, yes, you can fuel with, but she had GI issues and was having a hard time breaking that down. So he's a food scientist. Interesting story. He actually partnered with Brian Maxwell at Power Bar to start Power Bar. And he started this different formula of a gooey gel. And that's where GOO came from, the gooey texture. He presented that to Power Bar and actually just decided to depart because Power Bar thought it was weird. It is very interesting because it's a different kind of texture, but great way to fuel. So we remain family owned to this day. We have his son owns the company. We're based in Berkeley, California, and we're really proud that we manufacture all of our gels right in our office in Berkeley. So another fun fact too is we recently added solar panels. So when you grab for a GOO, you know that you are grabbing for something that was powered by the sun. So that's something we're really proud of at GOO. So we'll get into what we are providing for On Course. So you all likely know GOO because of our energy gels. Yes, we pioneered these in 1993. We also have Roctine energy gels, and we have decided to put the Roctine gels on course. And there is a common misconception that Roctine equals caffeine. So we do have caffeine-free and caffeinated options, and we will be providing 4 different flavors for On Course. Roctine actually has amplified ingredients. So we put more sodium in these and more branched chain amino acids, which are great for long efforts and intense efforts, such as half marathons and marathons when you're pushing your body to your limits. So the flavors that we're providing on course, 2 caffeine-free options. We have a lemonade and a strawberry kiwi that will be out there. And I believe you guys have been using them in your training as well. And then the caffeinated options, which have 35 milligrams of caffeine. We have a blue pomegranate and sea salt chocolate. We actually have 30 flavors between our GOO energy gels and our Roctine energy gels. So go visit Jeff at Fleet Feet because I know he is stocked up with lots of delicious flavors if you want to get different flavors for when you are training. Oh yeah, thank you, Jeff, beautiful. So really the benefits of GOO. So energy, like I said, it's a common misconception that people think that you're getting the energy from caffeine. You're actually getting the energy from a mix of simple and complex carbohydrates. And the reason that we put 2 different carbs in our gels is because they digest at different burn rates in your body. So you are not getting a spike and then a crash. We always recommend fueling about 5 minutes before and every 30 to 45 minutes. Brittany, sorry, it says my internet connection is unstable, so I hope you can all hear me still. Some links to some fueling guides because we have broken it out to make it easy for everybody to understand. If you have a marathon goal, what are the specific miles you should think about fueling with within? Something important to think about, we like to relate it to driving a car. So if you're driving a car and your fuel tank gets into the red, you don't keep driving for another hour. You have to go and fill up your tank immediately. So
unless you're my husband and then you keep driving.
Well, if you have heard of the term bonking, or have you experienced it where all of a sudden you're like, I just can't move anymore, it's because you have not fed your body. So we always recommend, like I said, taking an energy gel every 30 to 45 minutes. Make sure that you're washing it down with water or Noon from the aid stations, really helping it digest within your body. So think about that as you're fueling along the way, because unlike a car where you can just put the gas in and you're back to full, if you don't keep fueling at these intervals, you are going to get in the red and you will feel it. So make sure that you're training with the products to see what works best for you. Like I said, we're putting our Roctine gels on course, but we do have different form factors that you can also experiment with, which Jeff has at his store. We have a new product we're really excited about. We didn't put this on course, but it's called a liquid energy gel. So as you can see, it's much bigger because there is some water added to this too. So different form factor, just depends on how you like to, how you like the texture and how to fuel. But that's something else you can check out. We have Stroop waffles if you want to have something to really bite on while you're exercising. We have chews as well, which have been out of stock for a bit, but they'll be back in October. So all different ways, but just make sure, I think one of our big tips is sip, sip, nibble, nibble. So you got noon and you have goo, and just make sure that you are continuing to hydrate and eat along the way. And then you will make sure that you're really putting all of that hard training to work, and that you feel good at the end, because that's really the biggest thing. And like the reason that our company exists is like, we want you to have a life after your workout. Let's see, I saw a question come in. I heard you shouldn't take gels and Gatorade at the same time. That depends on how much sodium you're consuming. You should, Mike, I believe with your product that you're putting on course, the endurance, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, you will be fine in taking both of those. So we are so proud to be with Sports Backers. You got 2 quality products that you can use on course. And then one other thing that I really want to touch on that we're super proud that Sports Backers is also into our sustainability initiative. So we work with a company called TerraCycle. So they work with brands like us who have a non-municipally recycled item. So, these are foil packets. You can't, even if you throw them in the recycling bin, they get shifted out and they will end up in landfill. So we work with TerraCycle, and Sports Backers will be collecting all wrappers and sending them in to live a second life. I can also follow up with info on this afterwards as well. You can join as an individual. Jeff, if we don't have you set up as a retail collection point, we will get you set up so that when you are fueling in all of your training runs, save all your wrappers. You can drop them off at Fleet Feet, drop them off at the Sports Backers training runs. And just to give you a little visual of what happens with it. So essentially, after you ship everything in, we have a fun pro tip. How many of you have bought new shoes during this training? You can just keep your shoe box and make this your own little TerraCycle collection point. So a few pro tips I have. I just keep a bag in my trunk, because then I can just throw my wrappers in there. Once I get enough, I throw it in a box. Since we sponsor this program, GOO pays for all of the shipping. So with your TerraCycle account you create online, you get a free prepaid UPS label to send all of these in to be shredded down. I don't know if you guys can see this. And then it's made into plastic pellets, and it is made into upcycled lumber. So we're really proud. It's the 6th year of our partnership. We've almost collected 2 million packets in the last 6 years, which is the equivalent of producing 20 upcycled playgrounds. So really, it's really important to us, this sustainability initiative, because we do understand, yes, we helped pioneer single serve fueling, and that's a lot of wrappers and garbage. Another thing we're proud about, we accept everybody's wrappers. It doesn't have to even just be GOO. So we're really excited about that. And then one more tip I want to give you, and I will tell you, I'm in an Airbnb with pretty bad internet, and I tried to share a video earlier that didn't work, but if you have a Garmin, we have a cool app that you can download through Garmin's free Connect IQ store. That's called the GOO Fuel Reminder. So I don't know if you can see this. Essentially, you can put it as one of the data fields in your watch, and it's like a little fuel tank. So you can set it. It's a glorified timer, but you guys know how it gets out there. It's like you're competing. You may forget to fuel. You may forget to hydrate. So this is just a good reminder. And you can do every 30 minutes or 45 minutes. The little GOO logo is like a gas tank, and it'll just keep going down lower, lower, lower. And then it'll alert you that it's time to eat. So that's been a great tip and very helpful to myself to remember. And just a good way to get yourself accustomed to fueling every 30 to 45 minutes. Like Mike said, if only there was a prescription for nutrition. Everybody's body's a little different. So make sure that you're taking this time, to really be fueling with noon, fueling with GOO, see what the time differentials work best for you. And we're just really excited to fuel all of your adventures. So if you have any questions for me, let me know.
All right. So couple things I wanted to touch on. The collection of the GOO packets, super pumped about that. I will say we have not started this with our training teams yet. I believe the goal is after Labor Day, we're going to start collecting everything on site with Marathon Training Team. Then we also have a collection plan in place for race day as well. For race day, goo will be provided, I believe, at miles 14 and 21. That may change, but we will obviously have that information out to you guys ahead of your race. But 14 and 21, so the 2 stops, so you probably want to prepare your own fuel sources as well, and have them in your belt or whatever you need. And then there's one other thing, Celia, you were breaking up just a touch when you were recommending the timing. So I think you said 5 minutes before and then every 30 minutes during your run.
Yep, every 30 to 45 minutes. The at like 100 to 200 calories in per hour, and everybody's body's a little different. So just one packet of an energy gel is 100 calories as well. So just test it out during your training, what works best. Henry, I saw that you put a question in the chat about diluting the gels. Totally fine. Everybody has a little different preference on how to fuel and how to carry your fuel. One thing leave out, and this has also been out of stock, but should be back in stock soon. So Jeff, you can order some more. We make a flask in your pack, so you can put 5 gels in a flask. If you can almost be your own goo flavor scientist, and you can put different flavors in and mix and match. But this is a nice option, and we also make in our most popular flavors a 15 serving. So it's a big gel that you just pour right in here. Also TerraCyclable too. So that, oh yeah, Henry's got the flask. So that's probably how you feel. Yes, that's fine to put water in it. And also, if you haven't tried, like I said, Liquid Energy, we've kind of done it for you now in the packet. So thank you for the question.
Anything else for Celia right now? Again, if things pop up as we continue to go, feel free to pop those in the chat. Last but not least, we will kick it over to our dear friend Jeff Wells at our local Fleet Feet locations to talk all about the gear that you may need in your training and on race day.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany. Great to be part of this tonight, especially with my friends Mike at Noon and Celia at Goo. I go back a long time with Celia. I don't recognize you without your hat on, Celia, so pardon me about that. So, hey, welcome everybody. First and foremost, I just want to tell you, who we are. We're Fleet Feet. Our brand started in 1976 by Sally Edwards. She was a triathlete, but also she saw that running stores were all geared towards men, and she wanted to be more inclusive for women, and she started her first store in Sacramento, California. Yes, we're a national franchise with 180 stores across the country, and I'm blessed to be one of the franchisees. I started 20 years ago, almost to the date. I remember wondering what I was doing during 9/11, and I just signed my lease to my first store when 9/11 hit. So a lot of things have changed over the years. I own the Richmond franchise, been here for 7 years, and I own it with my son, Jason. So it's a poppin' son operation. And we have 2 locations in town. We expand. If you haven't been to our West Hampton store on Patterson Avenue in the last year, you're in for a treat because we expanded it. And it's the largest running store in Central Virginia now. And we also have a store in Short Pump, and we just made the decision to expand that store as well. So in the coming months, we'll be doubling in size in the Short Pump store. We also have a third store, and that would be our fleetfeet.com operation. So if traveling, if you just need to order something online, try to remember us before you go to the big Amazon machine, and you'll find that you can still support us locally. And we thank you for that. And you'll see that there's quite a bit of inventory available to you at our fleetfeet.com online store. However, nothing replaces the experience that you'll have in store with us. So I welcome you. If you haven't been to our store, come in and let us take care of you. We have a excellent staff, runners ourselves of all types. And so the experience we can give you from a staff is unmatched. And also our inventory, we just have the best products in the world for runners. We have things that other brands don't even have. And also our service starts with measuring of your feet. And we have a proprietary Fit ID 3D scan experience that measures your feet with 3D imaging, and you're able to see your feet the way we see your feet. And it's amazing how that's worked. We now have 3 million scans. I repeat that, 3 million scans nationwide, and it's all cloud-based data. So we're able to look at that data. So, and we look at each one of your feet, and it measures it to the nearest millimeter, and it shows the shape of your foot and how high your arch is. One arch is different from the other. And then also we have a secondary scan that measures your biomechanical imprint. So we see where your loading is as you go through your gait. And using that information and the expertise and knowledge of our staff and the extensive inventory we have of the best products, you can rest assured this is going to be the best place you come to get the best selection of equipment, including your running shoes. So other than running shoes, we have all the other products. I was just thinking the other day when you guys had to run through the rain on a Saturday morning, I tried to get as much information out as I can, but we simply have a product called Sport Shield, and it's an anti-chafing product that goes on like a band roll-on, and it puts on a real thin film of super slick material. And boy, it's great to put on your toes. This is your toes here. And you put it on your toes and your arch and your heel right before you put a very nice wicking sock. And then you're assured that's going to be your best chance of running in the rain and not getting blisters. And who knows what it's going to be like in November on race day or on your next long run. So little tip there, the combination of Sport Shield and a feature sock goes a long way. So when you get your shoes, just expect that we're going to fit them for you. And many of y'all are veterans at this, but you'd be amazed how people haven't heard all these things. But you can expect your shoe to be larger than your casual shoe. And we make sure the shoe fits you properly. You have the proper spacing from your toes, the proper width across this toe box right here. I cannot tell you how much issues you can have if this shoe's not the right size. Numbness, your feet can go numb if it's too tight. You can get excessive blisters if it's too loose. You can literally get plantar fasciitis if a shoe doesn't fit right, because you start tensing up your toes, and that causes excessive tightness up in the calf that can lead to other issues. So all those things are so important to get fitted properly. For you guys, it's probably a good idea to consider having 2 pairs of shoes so you can alternate them as much mileage y'all putting in, and especially if you're running consecutive days during the week in excess of 4 or 5 times. And then you can just alternate the shoes, and each shoe will give a day of rest at least. Shoes last about 400 to 500 miles. I always suggest looking at the wear on the outside of the shoe and treat it like the tires on your car. And if you see balding spots in here, you probably shouldn't. You should consider upgrading and getting a new pair. Shoes don't really take a long time to break in. So as far as preparing to have your shoe for the marathon event, especially if you're not like changing models, if you're just going to be moving into the updated version of the same model or just a newer version of it, you can just have it early enough to get a few key runs in it to make sure you're happy with it and everything's working fine. It's better to be in a newer shoe than the old shoe, obviously, because it's just going to be a newer pair. It's going to have more cushioning and more support to it. I mentioned socks, but make sure you're in a good quality sock. We carry the Belega and Features brands. These are two of my favorite marathon socks right here. The Belega Ultra Glide sock and the Features Light Cushions Elite sock. I'm also partial to the CEP sock as well. This is medical grade compression. One of my favorite socks to wear on marathon day or any of my long runs, because it's just helping with supporting the foot and arch and ankle and keeping swelling down and promoting blood flow. You should also consider an insole. It replaces your the sock liner in the shoe. So the sock liner in the shoe that comes with the shoe is pretty much just a thin piece of foam, and there's no support at all to it. And often our customers find a benefit to replace the sock liner with an insole such as this, the Superfeet Dynamic Max. It's got a nice arch support here. It takes up little or no more room than the sock liner itself because it's super thin, but it gives that good arch support. And what this is going to do is just helps marry the foot to the shoe. So without this, you have a good chance of just having a lot of voids underneath your arch when you're in the shoe, because even the best of shoes, they're basically flat on the bottom of them. So it'd be a good consideration to think about this. And we have a wide variety of insoles, and we can help fit them for you. In fact, we have one special one, our personalized Superfeet insole, that we take the data from the Fit ID and we personalize an insole for you that's produced from the data from the Fit ID. So suppose you have 1 foot longer than the other, or one arch is different from the other arch. This is a unique personalized insole that's produced to the dimensions of your feet from the Fit ID scan. And then those are come in at about $150. A typical insole comes at about $50 for a pair. And then the personalized insole comes in at $150. And it's mailed to the store in roughly a week to 2 weeks. And then you come back in and we trim them for you. The insoles last roughly 2 pairs of shoes. Yeah, no, look, I caught you there, Miss Cindy. Yeah, so they wear roughly or last roughly 2 pairs of shoes. Some other key products that you probably should just be aware of. That's what I'm trying to do tonight. Speaking of nutrition and hydration, this is a great carrier for that. This is one of my favorite water bottles. This one's from Nathan, and it's insulated. It has a nice little hand carrier here that you put on. You slip your thumb through here. So literally it holds on to you, and instead of you having to hold on to it. And it's an insulated bottle. It's got a nice little storage area here for some personals, and a nice squeeze bottle here. So, and then some injury prevention products. One of my favorite one is the Day massage stick. I call this the toothbrush for your muscles. This is something you should consider using very regularly, and this can help keeping those muscles nice and elastic and stretched out and keep things from getting knotted up. This is something you'd use daily, maybe sometimes early in the morning and maybe sometimes late in the evening. It only takes about 5 or 10 minutes. to use, and that's the only need you need. Our staff can show you some key areas of the body you should use this on. One of my favorite is the upper outside of the calf. It's a major trigger point for things like plantar fasciitis and Achilles tendonitis, all those words that end in itis you don't want. And this removes the itis out of those words right here. I'm a big fan of having a Garmin to train with. I wear one personally. This is the model 245, and this is one of their newer models, the 55. Just great to have. They have a wrist heart rate, which is about 98% accurate, and for me, that's accurate enough. If I wanted to add a band to it, I could to be even more accurate. And it just tracks your heart rate and your speed and your distance. Many of y'all are aware of that. Just know that we have them here. Should definitely talk about, one of our favorite products in our store. Let's not get too serious about running, but how fun is it to have a really cool pair of sunglasses? Come on. So we carry the Gooder sunglasses. I'm proud to say we probably have the best selection of anywhere in Central Virginia. I'm kind of anal about getting on Gooder's site often and just getting any glasses I can get. And I've been pretty successful of doing it. So here's two of the ones I snagged just recently. And of course we have all the other models as well. Yeah. And then I should not finish my talk without talking about safety. We've got to be safe, runners. You've got to be seen. And one of my favorite products in the world is this one by Amphipod. And it's a lit up beam, and it's super light and easy to adjust. It doesn't have a battery. You shouldn't have to run with a battery attached to your body. It's a USB charged unit. It comes in at $60. You charge it up. It's good for about 3 hours. It comes in 3 different light modes as well. So with that, I think I haven't looked at the chat, but I think we'll just open it up for questions. Yeah, so yeah, the Gooders are, what makes the Gooders special is they don't bounce, they don't slip, they're polarized. Many of the models are $25. And Gooders claims that no one's been attacked by a leopard while they were wearing these running. I don't know if that's still correct, but that's what I heard.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for all of your insight and knowledge here. We do have an injury prevention clinic next week that VCU Health will be hosting. Jeff will be joining us again there as well. So if you think of anything in the meantime, then he'll be on that. Also, Jeff, we decided this weekend at MTT, right? So Jeff will be on site at MTT this weekend. So if you guys have questions for him, you can pop by and talk to him there as well. Also, you know, just like everybody else in the world right now, Fleet Feet is hiring. So have to put my plug in for Jeff. They're looking for great associates over there at their Patterson and the Shore Pump store. So if you know anybody that's into running, ding, 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 all of you, then go talk to Jeff. If anybody has any other questions, you can kind of shoot us a note. I think probably you can talk to your coaches. We can get Mara involved if we need to reach back out to Mike or Celia or Jeff on anything as well. This was hopefully recorded, and we'll get that posted on the marathon website for you guys as well, in case you need to reference anything. But thank you all for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Good to see a lot of y'all, at least your names.
Yeah, you guys are great. Thanks so much for having us.
Mike, good to see you again. See, great to see you.
Thank you. Great to see you too.
Yeah, Mike, Celia, Jeff, thank you all so much for jumping on here. I really appreciate it. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody.